Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Brian's Horror Corner, and welcome to this horror movie review as part of my summer horror movie series for the month of July here. So today we're going to have sort of an impromptu review. This was a movie that I wasn't planning on reviewing because I thought I already had. And it's a movie that actually has the same title as another movie I'll be doing later this month as part of the same series. But it's a horror anthology called Campfire Tales, and this is the one from 1997 with Amy Smart and James Marsden. Yeah, I watched this last summer, but I never did a review for it. I realized, so I figured I might as well. We're in the middle of summer. I'm in the middle of a summer horror series, so I might as well add to it. So we're going to go ahead and review Campfire Tales from 1997. There's also one from 1990 or 91 with Gunnar Hansen, which like I said, I'll be watching and reviewing that one later this month. That one I hadn't seen before. This one I've seen a few times. So let's just go ahead and get into it. Starting with the setup, the premise, and the cast, and then I'll get into my thoughts and review, which will be spoiler free for the most part. So, Campfire Tales is a 1997 American anthology horror film directed by Matt Cooper, Martin Kunnert, and Daniel Semmel. The film is made up of three individual short segments that are presented in an overarching narrative told by a group of friends around a fire after they crash their car in the woods. So that's the gist of it. So basically, it opens actually with like a prologue, kind of an introduction to what this movie's going to be in the 1950s. Jenny and Eddie, who are played by Amy Smart and James Marsden, are kissing in a car at a viewpoint. Jenny becomes nervous that someone is watching them after they hear a radio broadcast of a madman on the loose in the area. She forces Eddie to drive them back to town, thinking she sees someone lurking in the woods. They arrive at a drive-in, and Eddie walks to the window to order a milkshake. When he returns towards the car, he sees a hook hanging from the car's passenger door. So that's kind of what gets us into the movie. And then we go from there to present day, where Cliff, his girlfriend Lauren, and her little brother Eric and friend Alex are driving home from a concert. Cliff, who's drunk and driving erratically, crashes the car in the woods. They light flares and discover an abandoned church foundation nearby where they start a fire. To pass the time, they begin telling a series of campfire tales. And so then that's the three stories, the three separate stories that are told in this movie. That's how they're told, is being told around the campfire. So I'm just going to quickly go through the premise of each of these stories. In the first story, Rick and Valerie are on their honeymoon, driving through Nevada in this big RV, and let's just say they're stopped in the woods. In the second story, 12-year-old Amanda is in an online chat room talking to a girl named Jessica, who is actually an online predator posing as a young girl. And in the third story, Scott is riding his motorcycle through the country. He notices a rural farmhouse and seeks shelter there during a rainstorm. Inside, a beautiful mute woman named Heather. She communicates with Scott by writing on a handheld chalkboard and invites him to stay the night. So, yeah, those are the three stories we get. And then, of course, the film finishes with the overarching wraparound story again. As far as the cast goes, I'm not going to give everybody, but just a few. From the prologue, The Hook, we have Amy Smart as Jenny, James Marsden as Eddie. From the Campfire wraparound, we have J.R. Ferguson as Cliff, Christine Taylor as Lauren, Christopher Masterson as Eric, and Kim Murphy as Alex. The honeymoon segment, we have Ron Livingston as Rick, Jennifer McDonald as Valerie. People Can Lick Too, the second segment, we have Alex McKenna as Amanda and Devin Odessa as Catherine. And then the final third segment, we have entitled The Locket, we have Glenn Quinn as Scott Anderson and Jacinda Barrett as Heather Wallace. So yeah, that's the setup, the premise, and the cast for Campfire Tales from 1997. In my opinion, this is an incredibly underrated horror anthology movie that not enough people know about. Now, part of the reason not enough people know about it or talk about it is because it's not really that available out there. It's not. It's only been released on DVD, I believe, and that was a long time ago. And there's not that many in circulation. I happened to pull this off of eBay a little over a year ago, and I paid more than I wanted to for it. Let's just put it that way, because of supply and demand and those things. And it's just not that readily available, which is unfortunate because I think it's a really solid, entertaining horror anthology that not enough people have the opportunity to see. So I kind of wish it had. I wish Scream Factory might get a hold of this. It is sort of a B. It is sort of a B horror movie. It wasn't even. It didn't go to theaters. It was a direct to VHS at the time, or direct to DVD in this case, movie that has a pretty good cast in it. Some well known names, especially for that time. And I actually saw this. This is actually the first horror anthology I ever saw. I rented it around 2000, so a few years after it came out in 97. Probably around 99, 2000, I rented this, and I was just blown away by it. I really enjoyed it, from the stories to the twists with the wraparound and just everything about it. Um, so as soon as I got into horror in the last few years, I made it a point to find this, and like I said, I did find it. I snagged it, but it hurt. It hurt the bank account a little bit, and so that's the unfortunate part about it. But let's just go ahead and get into what I like about the movies, or about the movie. Um, First of all, if you know me, you know I'm a big horror anthology fan, and I really like connective tissue kind of anthology movies, ones that have a solid wraparound story, and this has a solid wraparound story, or main story, if you will, that I really like. First of all, I like the setting of it, being in the middle of the woods with an old abandoned church and the campfire. That stuff I'm in right away with that stuff alone. The fact that they were driving home, and they end up stranded in the woods, and it leads to how we're introduced to these three separate stories by telling stories around the campfire. It might not be the most original. I know there's some other anthologies and some other movies out there that use the campfire trope, but I don't know. I really think it's well done here, and I really enjoy that whole aspect. So the wraparound part of this movie right away, it sucks me in. It's really effective, and I think a fun way to be introduced and to watch these three short stories in the movie. Um, and then the next thing is, all three of these short stories are really solid. I think they're well written, they're well acted. There's some decent tension and scares, especially in the first one. A little bit in the third one. The second one is more underlying horror. Some of it's on screen too, but yeah, they're very well written, and good stories, just good solid stories in my opinion. There isn't a dud in the bunch like we sometimes get in anthology movies. I also really enjoyed that they have a variety of horror subgenres that they use here for this movie. You know, we got a creature feature, we have a sort of a stalker predator, almost slasher, if you will, and then we have a good old fashioned ghost story, to go along with the wraparound story. Those are the three main stories that are introduced here. It makes for a really fun and entertaining horror watch that kind of pleases everybody that likes different subgenres of horror. So I thought that was really cool. Um, as I said, I thought the acting throughout the movie is really good, especially for a B horror anthology movie. You're not expecting it, but we have some big names in here, like Amy Smart and James Marsden. Even though they're not in the movie that much, they're just in the prologue, the '50s part of the movie. It's still good to see them. Christine Taylor and Jacinda Barrett, they all do a really good job. Yeah, I didn't find a false note anywhere. Even the 12-year-old Alex McKenna, I thought, did a really good job in this movie. And that's you don't often get that from 11, 12 year olds, but she was really effective. But yeah, really across the board, I thought everybody was on point here. This movie overall has really good atmosphere in it. All three of the segments, as well as the wraparound story, from the outdoor woods and campfire to like I said, the three stories, even the intro and prologue in the '50s, it's really good and effective atmosphere that does a really good job in all these different stories and areas of building suspense and tension. Yeah, I just thought it was very well done. It has a fair amount of blood and gore in it, especially the first story and the last story of the three that are told. Um, it's not a gore fest by any stretch, but if you want a little bit of blood and gore for realism's sake, it has a little bit of it. And for a low budget B horror movie, that's more than what we get from a lot of them. So I appreciated that. It also has one of the great horror twists I've ever seen in the end, and I really enjoyed it. It's very eerie and creepy, and I think it's really well set up as well, We don't often get any of those things in a horror anthology movie, especially a B horror movie anthology. The first time I watched it, I was blown away. I did not see the twist coming. Maybe there's people out there that do. I don't know. Everybody admits after the fact. A lot of people do the, oh yeah, I knew the whole time, and you don't know if they're telling the truth half the time or not. I can admit to myself when I see something coming and when I don't. And this one, I didn't see it coming because of how well it was set up. I'm not going to give it away. I want you guys to see the movie. It won't be that effective. Hopefully, you can find it. I wish Scream Factory would get a hold of it and make a release of it. But yeah, it's just a great twist. It really wraps up the movie well, and they also do a good job of connecting all these stories to the wraparound. Um, in a way that I don't really want to give away that either. But let's just say there's characters in the stories that play into the wraparound. That's as much as I'll say. So yeah, I just can't. A lot of pros for this movie. I really enjoy it. It's just a really fun, a really great summer horror movie as well. So it was perfect for this series, especially because I hadn't reviewed it before for my channel. Just a really good watch. Unfortunately, I don't think you can find it on YouTube. There's some horror movies you can find on YouTube. I don't think this one is, and I don't know that it's streaming anywhere. So you're really gonna have to do some digging and probably some paying to get it. As far as cons go, I think it's all related to the budget for this movie. It was a lower budget B horror movie, and that kind of hurts it at certain points, especially in the first story with the creature feature. We never really get to see much of the creature, which I think would have been more effective to get a good look at him towards the end. Would have liked to have seen more. Would have also liked to have seen a little bit higher production quality. Now, it doesn't take away from the movie because the writing is good enough here, the directing and the performances are good enough, and the stories are good enough. But I think better production value in this would have helped for sure. I don't think it's the best shot movie or production design movie. Again, going back to the budget, it's all pretty one setting kind of story notes. Again, it's all related to low budgets. Those are really the only cons I can come up with. As far as the performances, the story, the scares, um, yeah, I really don't have any cons for them. I think they all work effectively. Is it the scariest horror anthology ever? No. Is it the goriest or bloodiest horror anthology movie ever? No. But I think it's a really underrated one, and I really wish that more people could see this. I highly recommend it. I'm going to give this movie for what it is, especially being a B horror movie. I'm going to bump it up a point and give it a 9 out of 10. I think for a horror anthology, it's a really effective summer horror anthology, and I would highly recommend it to everyone if you can find it out there. I got it off of eBay, FYI. So I don't know, Amazon or eBay or maybe some other, I'm not sure. I mean, this was released by New Line Home Entertainment, so I don't know if they still have a website that maybe you could snag it off of. But 9 out of 10 for Campfire Tales from 1997. Go ahead and comment down below to any of you that have seen this movie before what you think of it. Do you like it? Don't you? Comment down below. Please like this video and hit the little notification bell down below so you don't miss any of my upcoming videos for this series. And please be sure to subscribe to my channel down below so you don't miss any of my great horror content. So thank you for watching this. I hope you enjoyed this review. Have a great day. Stay scared. Bye.